YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Welcome to my review for the Kyoryuger half of the King-Ohger crossover movie double feature. Now, as I said in part 1, typically we always get the crossover movie between the current and previous Sentai, but because we decided to shove the Kyoryuger anniversary into King-Ohger, we had this opportunity to do a crossover movie and to tie up some loose ends, which I had some mixed feelings on. As I've stated before, I was very pleasantly surprised at how well they integrated the Kyoryuger stuff into the King-Ohger series. That was honestly really well done, at least for the main two-parter. Honestly, because we kind of wanted to show Earth and that the enemies had control over other territories and all that stuff, it kind of fit into the mythology well, where it was well planned. I still kind of almost wouldn't have done it, which I'll get into, but I think it was very well done. The only parts that were kind of iffy were the forced inclusions later, including Prince's random cameo, which is sort of fixed in this a little bit, but the point is I was pleasantly surprised by that. But with all this, I gotta say, even though they integrated it well and it was cool to see, seeing as how they were able to get this whole cast back, I would have just liked a nice, proper Kyoryuger Returns movie instead of forcing it into the King-Ohger stuff and forcing it to push out the Don brothers from getting a more full crossover movie. I just think I would have overall preferred that. In my ideal world, we would have just got a nice Returns movie and left the series be on its own. However, the second perfect world would be just have done that two-parter, not had anything else, and just use it as kind of a loose setup in a way, and then not had it trickle throughout and do a little bit more of a concrete spin-off movie, which is sort of what they did, but what I mean is not have King return, or Prince return, whatever, because even though it's fixed, it's still kind of weird. But so getting on to the positives, it really is nice to see all these characters again, like with Don Brothers. I really did love the Kyoryuger cast, and they pretty much got everybody back, so it was really nice to see them. I did feel it was lacking in some character interactions with the King-Ohgers a little bit. You got a couple little moments here and there, but I found it funny that I preferred the Don Brothers movie in that respect because there were some nice character interactions. And as I've said before, that's the fun of this. You can have the empty suits next to each other all day long, but when you have the cast there, it's interesting to match up those personalities. And we did get some of those nice moments in the series crossover, but I felt that was lacking a little bit. It felt very bare minimum. But on the positive side, it was nice to see those characters together, seeing the interactions between them. There was some fun stuff with the time travel plots with Uchi, and my god, I'm forgetting Purple's name, even though I know it. Sonoe? No, that's not it. That's Don Brothers. Kendall. Anyway, Kendall, there was my favorite little moment was when he finds out about the future where Amy and Daigo have a kid, and she's like, we have to stop this future at all costs. I thought that was a nice moment, nice little callback there, and there was just some fun stuff in general about the timey-wimey antics of them, and they even visit the Kyoryuger 100 Years After special. That was overall really fun. Also, again, if you like that stuff more so, that's your priority. There's some good action in it, some good fights and stuff like that. The suits all look bright and shiny. Bright and shiny! Shout out to those that get that reference. You know what's crazy is that the dude that played Master Chief in the Halo series was one of the freaks in that movie. That blew my mind. Anyway, one thing though, a negative to that was the roll call I felt just went on too long. They did the King-Ohger roll call. I felt it took forever. I just moving over here, I was checking Twitter, and we got to the Kyoryuger one. I'm like, alright, I'm fast forward to this. I don't got time for this. And Practical Jokers reruns are not going to watch themselves. But anyway, there was some good action there. Also, I don't know if I call this a positive, but I had some mixed feelings, positive and negative, about the plot. I liked the timey-wimey aspect. I like a good convoluted plot if I can still make sense of it. I felt it was a little too convoluted, and again, I felt like we should have just done a Kyoryuger crossover movie. I'm like, this is a little bit too convoluted and unnecessary. They pretty seamlessly fit the story of King-Ohger and Kyoryuger together, but then the plot of this just felt needlessly convoluted. I'm like, this could have been so simple. I do like that it was unique to an aspect, or to a degree, and maybe I would have wished for a version of this that was thought out, but I also kind of would have been okay with a very simple plot where we had Prince warning that everything wasn't going so well. We kind of had the King-Ohgers leaving at the end of the series, of the idea of them just going to Earth to help finish the fight. Maybe they're just visited by an alternate reality version of the King-Ohgers, and it's simple as that. I think they could have kept it a little more simple and had some fun character interactions. Again, I kind of liked some of the timey-wimey aspects because it was fun to revisit some moments and recontextualize some things that made me a little less annoyed at Prince's return in the random last half of the series. But it just felt a little bit too messy for me. I just wish it was a little bit less messy, so I would either prefer something more straightforward or something like this, but just a little more well thought out, because it was a little bit confusing, and it was kind of funny that he created Evil Gira by giving him more of that, Zord Soul Jello. That's a weird, put that on a shirt. It was kind of funny, but I felt even that was wasted. I feel that there were some interesting aspects when we visited, oh, here's how the King-Ohgers downfalled at their worst in this universe, but that could have been an interesting aspect. That's why I think it would have been cool to have them just simply be from an alternate universe and visiting, and then we could have even explored interactions there. And even King Gira, evil King Gira, was wasted, It's funny seeing him like trying to have this intimidating voice. I'm like, dude, you look like a chipmunk, and you're like, oh, I'm the most badass around. And he looks like he's like, that suit is like swallowing him whole, and he looks like a chipmunk. Anyway, but then after they like fix the timeline and cure him, then just a version of the monster suit pops out because we have to fight it, and that is the Toku shallow nonsense I hate. Speaking of, I hate that the explanation for the, unless I'm wrong, for the anniversary power-ups was we just got a special gift or an anniversary gift, and it was just stupid. Like, I hate that. It was like and then a shrill crackhead changer voice screaming anniversary has to be my Toku worst nightmare. It was awful. Like, I liked the suits okay and the fight was fun, but I wish there was a little bit more to that. Like, I liked the explanation behind Prince's suit, because I'm like, okay, he's being designed by the King-Ohger tech, so that makes sense. And this was just like, hey, hand wave. It came from the power of Earth smile. Like, I hate that. I know it's for kids, but it's like, it frustrates me because on the one hand, Toku has some of the most bare bones children's writing hand wavy stuff, but then it does have deeper, more, you know, complex plots than a lot of children's shows. And so that's when you get the fandom being like, it's for kids, don't take it so seriously. And also, it should be on HBO Sentai. So I don't know. That just frustrates me because I think it could be more. Like, just because it's for kids doesn't mean it can't be competent. But anyway, that's my least favorite thing, is the Toku hand wavy explanations. I also happen to think, even though I like that they kept the Don brothers separate, although I wish they would have given more time, I thought there was actually a version of this where they could have integrated the stories, maybe? I think there could have been a version where you open up on some of the Kyoryuger stuff, where the timeline is accidentally changed, and then as a result, for some reason, now this is some messy Toku logic, but I think it's rooted in story, like the current version of the King-Ohgers would end up in that netherworld from Don brothers, where they meet the Don brothers, rather, and basically like have this plot where after an X amount of time, they're going to be replaced by their new timeline selves, but they're kind of in this limbo. And then you have the Don Brothers movie there, and you have it all about the Don Brothers helping the King-Ohgers get back and fix things, and give proper attention to that, and make it about that. But then you have it come out the other end with they've been helped by the Don Brothers, and then it would be crazy to have 3 teams together, but then maybe you could have all 3 of the teams there together. That'd be kind of cool. Like, I kind of like they kept them separate, but I'm like, these could have maybe been integrated in a way. Like, I don't know. Also, there's that weird scene at the end where people think that the timeline's been changed when Uchi shows up to see if he's fixed the future, and you have Abraham Lincoln there, and it says Thade won, and I'm like, I'm still thinking about that cliffhanger, and I still think that movie's underrated. No, but when he shows up at the end, and he sees that the Statue of Liberty there, and he's like, you maniacs! You blew it up! I'm sorry, I've been rewatching the Planet of the Apes movies because of the new one. Anyway, when he shows up at the end, it's Daigo's dad, and they think they changed the timeline where Amy and Daigo's dad had a kid. I think the implication is just that Daigo looks like his dad when he grows up, which is weird. But I think that was kind of unnecessary, but it's stupid. And that's the thing, too, is these Toku crossovers and returns have gotten so convoluted with, like, no regard for, like, concrete continuity that I honestly just kind of disregard them and just kind of close the series off in my mind once it ends and just kind of watch these as whatever. So even if there was something that was forked up, it doesn't matter. But overall, guys, I had mixed feelings on this one. I enjoyed some parts of it, but mostly it just kind of left me wishing we just got a solid Kyoryuger Returns movie, because we got the whole cast there. I think there was some makings for a really cool, solid return story, and I feel like it just got needlessly convoluted. Again, that was one thing that kind of took me by surprise, is they integrated the story so well with King-Ohger, but then this was so, like, again, needlessly messy. But what did you guys think of it? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. The Awesome Writer signing out.